It's the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast, where we talk about all things consensual non-monogamy, polyamory, swinging, and all things about how you can have a secure and sexy relationship. Now here's your hosts, Tara and Andre. We are live. We are live.
11 o'clock in some place in the world. And it doesn't matter if it's 11. We're live and timeless.
Welcome to the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Tara. I'm a relationship and awesomeness coach.
And I'm Andre. I am a sex-positive psychotherapist.
Welcome, welcome. So coming hot off the heels of our latest party this past weekend, we thought we would do a talk on Sex Parties 101, a guide to being a great host and a great guest.
All right. That's awesome. Yeah, it was a good time had by all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the benefits of being consensually non-monogamous is that you have the opportunity to have events like this, attend or host them yourself. And I really love it. Yeah,
it's fun, right? It's like a whole mega dose of that NRE. You get like that all new relationship energy coming into all these people that you have seen before and see again, or maybe some new people. There are a couple of new people.
Yeah.
And it was totally awesome. Yeah. So we'll talk about some of the do's and don'ts, some of the things that work well and some of the things that might work less well. And help you to have an amazing party as well.
Yeah, so we'll talk about what we did to plan and host the party. Like you said, the do's and don'ts, what we felt worked well, what we might do differently this time. Because I think every time we have an event like this or we attend one, we think about or learn something new.
Yeah, you learn some stuff.
So before we jump in, though, for those of us those of you who are watching us live, you can let us know in the comments what if you've ever hosted a party yourself, if you've attended one,
have you been to one?
And if you want to do one or the other.
Yeah, and what did you think might have worked well, and what did you not like about it, perhaps? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, what do you think of our last party?
I would give it like a 4 3/4 star rating out of 5. I think it went really, really well. I don't know if I ever give anything a 5.
Yeah.
Right. But it was awesome. There was like a lot of good energy. People were participating well. There was a lot of laughter, a lot of singing, good interaction, good balance of friends. Yeah, I think it was an awesome night.
Yeah. I think I felt more relaxed this time. I think. Did I seem more relaxed?
Yeah, you did. What do you think was the difference?
I think because we've done it before.
Preparation.
We planned well in advance. And, these are some of the things we're talking about. But I think I made an actual decision to be less anxious about things and to just really, just enjoy it.
Right. And one of the other points I think that really helped was one of the things we're going to talk about is we also had invited and received outside help from a couple of couples, right? So they were also coming here and kind of helping us do that. And what I really liked about it, in addition to their helping, was that they were here earlier. So it kind of was like, we're not waiting for the door to ring and then, then the party starts.
Yeah.
They were already here, and it was like kind of, taking the edge off in a way.
Yeah, like they put last minute touches on makeup, helped put out food and stuff, and just got a chance to connect with like close friends before. So that was awesome. Okay, so let's jump in.
Okay. Where should we jump to?
We should jump to the notes.
All right. So
before the. So. Yeah, so I think, as always, lots of laughter, lots of fun and frivolity. And I think this is the point to make, too, is like it's not all about sex, the parties. It's a lot about connection and, and fun. I think I just had a lot of fun in various parts of the evening.
You know what? It's not all about sex. You're absolutely right. It's a lot about coming together and just enjoying each other's company. And there's nothing in saying that you have to have sex. In fact, there were a couple of people here that were not, for whatever reason, wanting to engage in it. And that's wonderful, too, that they still showed up and stuff. But it's also why it's so critically important to have that neutral space, right? So people who aren't wanting to necessarily engage and play can just hang out there and still commiserate and be cool with each other. And, so that's good.
Yeah, like one of our guests said that they just wanted to have a cuddle party. And so while people were playing upstairs, they were just cuddling on the couch and talking with other people. So that's good.
Yeah, that's wonderful too, right? Sometimes people use sex as a device for intimacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they'll have the sex, but then after they feel like they can be like cuddly and everything. And sometimes it's hard to come in from the cold and just say, I'd like a cuddle, and like, I'd like to have like an orgy cuddle, like the whole together. But after, when that sexual tension's been released, then it seems like it's easier, more viable to just kind of come together in that good release of dopamine and just be like, yeah, this is so lovely. Anyways, nice. Yeah. But that being said, too, without calling anybody out, one of the guests came back after some play into the neutral area where the food was, and they were completely nude, and they looked like they were going to dip into the dip, So maybe next time they should wear like a hairnet or something.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's start. We're going to do some do's and don'ts. Let's start like the before, the during, and then the after sort of thing.
You want to do the do's first?
The do's. So preparations before the party. So I think the big thing this time, and all the times it's great, is like we talked about earlier, is plan in advance. Start early. So not only does it help you in planning, but it also allows others you're inviting to set the time aside. And we actually had a fun way of planning this year. We went away with some of our close friends, same people that came early to the party.
Co-conspirators.
Like our co-conspirators, and we came up with the theme, and we came up with the guest list, and talked about lots of things. So that was really awesome. So that was back in January. So it was like almost 2 months. Yeah, almost 2 months in advance.
As you say, it gives people a good amount of time to plan their calendars and stuff. But also, what I really like about having time in advance for that is that we can go out and get STI and STD testing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that way we all, because a lot of places it takes 2 weeks or even more to get your results back, and we want to be able to take a picture of that time, but then that result is only as good as when you've had your last interaction. So now if you've taken the test on January 1st and then January 2nd, you've introduced new partners to it, well then that one from January 1st is no longer valid. So you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be able to take it and then know what your window is. Why is it important to do the STI testing and all that stuff? Well, because we are conscientious community members. Exactly. So it's not only for my own well-being, it's in consideration of how you might feel. And same thing with common colds and everything, right? If I'm starting to feel a little ticklish, I might have to say, well, you know what? In the interest of the group, I'm not going to be attending this party.
Exactly. And that was on our page too, which we'll talk about in a second.
Right. In something like a cold like that. But if I'm, for whatever other reason, not wanting to necessarily participate sexually in that way or physically in that way, I can still come to the party. I can still be a participant. I can still be a voyeur or whatever it is, or an exhibitionist, whatever. Right. So
exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's go into the do's for the host. So let's start with the host. We're going to do the host and the guest. Okay. So in advance. So we talked about planning in advance. We actually had one of the couples stayed over, which was awesome because they helped us sort of tidy up after everyone left. But it was also nice in the morning to have coffee and share, like do a bit of a debrief. And then we went for breakfast. So it was really nice.
It makes me think, because we had like a house full of people and then kind of like nothing afterwards. So having them, that kind of makes a transition back into our normal state.
Yeah, exactly.
So we use them for our comfort.
So other things to do in advance is to decide on a theme. So you can see we're dressed not in our usual TNA wear. This is sort of, this last party was emo themed, and it was sort of an anti-Valentine's Day. It was going to be just right around Valentine's Day, but we shifted the date. And so it was the Emo-Pocalypse of Love. And we'll show you the page we set up, actually.
As you say that, it's interesting, though, because we wanted it to be anti-Valentine's Day with these, hetero norms. And yet the majority of the people there, if not all of them, were couples.
The couples, yeah.
So...
But people really get into it. It gives people something to get excited about, the theme. Yeah. Have something to wear. I think sometimes you don't know, especially if you've not been to these, it's really fun to get dressed up, and it sort of lightens the mood. Like our last one was like a James Bond themed, a mask.
Gold fingering.
Yeah, gold fingering. So we have a lot of fun with the title and that sort of thing. So, and people really dressed up. Like it was really great. And in fact, this little choker was a gift from one of our friends because they bought a whole bunch of things and fun earrings.
Crazy.
And
that's fun too, right? When you have like a treasure chest, a wardrobe of all the stuff, and you can share them and turn each other on with that. Yeah, but the idea of having a theme goes into one of the elements of the keys of happiness, and that is having something to look forward to. So we announced that theme, and now people are saying, "Oh yeah, well, what am I going to wear for that?" I've engaged in that costume. It just heightens the excitement to it, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, it's no pressure, right? I mean, you can just come as you are, and that's always perfectly fantastic as well.
Yeah. So one of the other things we do, which is very successful, is we start a group chat. So we have a WhatsApp chat. So as soon as people have been invited and they've confirmed, we add them, or whoever's invited them adds them to the group chat. And then that's where you can share information. We ask people to do an introduction,
right,
share
exactly,
a picture.
and pictures of themselves, because not everybody necessarily knows everybody in that, right? So it's a good way of like, oh yeah, okay, well, that's somebody new that we're going to meet, and we look forward to that. So yeah, it's a good way of breaking the ice before it's even started.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. And the nice thing is when you have a variety of guests. So sometimes with people that don't know each other. So it's nice to kind of mix up the guests, introduce new people. And that definitely, we had a nice mix of people who knew each other and didn't know each other.
Well, and that's one of the things that we're going to say later on also about who we invite. There will be new people there, but we are asking that if you're inviting somebody, that they be vetted. Well, what does that mean? It means that we can vouch for them. We know what their behavior is. Like, ideally, they've been people who have been to parties as well before, or they're well versed in what's going to take place. They've had the dialogue about it. In other words, they are sexually, psychically mature in that they know the do's and don'ts. They know the basic etiquette, morals, and ground rules of what goes on in these parties and how they might conduct themselves. So in being vetted, we're saying, well, if I'm bringing you to this party, I'm in a sense vouching for you. I know what kind of guest you will be, and I know how you interact with other people.
Yeah,
right?
It's definitely going to reflect on you, who you invite, and all that stuff. So
and it might influence the party too, right? I mean, if somebody has never been to a party before, they've not had this dialogue with their partner, and all of a sudden they see their partner interacting with somebody else, and it throws them like into this big dive of jealousy. It might not be the mood you're going for in your party, right? It could be a big thing. So yeah, it's good to know who's on the list.
I've definitely been at parties where the couples have had a fight or something like that. So that's another thing we're going to talk about a little bit about, sorts of things.
But that's also another thing, a whole other thing that we could do another time is, what if I've never been to a party? How do I get the experience? It's like going for a job, right? They say, well, you'd like to have employees with experience, but how do you get your first job to get that experience? So how do I go to my first party, and what are some of the conversations necessary before that?
Yeah, we could do that. I think we actually did talk on that. Maybe we can rebroadcast it. So. Okay, so one of the other important things is for the guests, it's to give them all the details of the event. And so one of the things that we've done for the last 2 parties, what people really loved, is we created a web page. And I'm actually going to show just quickly a version of it. Share screen. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. And this was a great, even though we had the guest chat, it was a great place to put all the information in one place. And so we created a theme. I created a page. We even had a countdown. I restarted the countdown. It has all the details, like the location, the description, suggestions on what to wear,
do's and don'ts,
the map. This is obviously not our place, what to bring and where, and the do's and don'ts. So some of the things we're talking about today, we've also included that for the guests. And you can see our favorite one highlighted: get tested in advance. And we'll talk about some of these other things: consent and coasters and all kinds of other things. So that's one of the things that we did, and that I think was quite helpful to people. They were surprised. They're like, oh, you must host these every week, and said, no, we just have a really good template. But it's a great information to have all the information. And then you can also keep sharing that link in the group chat, and then people can go back to it if they're looking at it. Actually, someone joked that just before they came to the event, they were looking for the address. So they went back to the page, and then the countdown had gotten to 0, and they were like, oh no. So that was funny. Yeah. So I think the other thing to do is to be clear on what kind of party it is, especially for people, if you're allowing people to invite other guests, vetted guests, then letting people know that it's a lifestyle party. And so there will be things.
Yeah. Because you might have friends that you are both play partners with and see them socially otherwise, where you do non-play activities. So what kind of party is it? It might seem kind of obvious to you because you're hosting it or you're not, but it's good to know. It's all about the ease of conversation. It's about saying everything and being able to consent to that.
And one of the things you could consider doing is, if people haven't been to a party before, you can invite people to the meet and greet part, and then, like allow them to come and meet people, and then maybe
tell them to get out.
Well,
okay, that's over. Your time's up.
No, not tell them to get out, but if somebody wants to experience it, but doesn't necessarily want to play, observing is always a great option. So you can invite them as observers, as long as they've had their essential conversations beforehand, because I think jealousy and other things can pop up, that sort of thing.
Sure. But if you are the one inviting them, maybe you be their sponsor in a way, and just keep an eye on them, do a little check-in with them on the side, make sure,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
So other things to do in advance is to make sure you have supplies for the event. Like I can't tell you how important supplies are. So things like, even though people will bring their own condoms and lube and stuff like that, it's great to have condoms and lube, a variety of them, gloves, bathroom supplies. So lots of toilet paper, lots of toilet paper, and have it within reach for people, so that they can find it.
Right. They're not having to search you out.
Search it out.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing that's important to have is baby wipes, so people can clean up in between partners.
Very important. Yeah. Washing your hands thoroughly, right, in between partners, because there are things that can be transferred easily like that, right? Unfortunately. So
exactly. Yeah. So along that lines, we also have mouthwash. So we have mouthwash and wipes in all the bathrooms, and in little paper cups that people can use for mouthwash and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because what would be worse than trying to get intimate with somebody and their breath being a little bit off, and then maybe it's not the ideal time to have to tell them that, right? So take it upon yourself to do it. But also, when you are shifting partners, changing partners, then yes, please try and do your best to keep it from one to the other, and not
exactly. So have things within reach for people, like we said, for bowls for condoms. We had a big table in the main play area that had a bowl and all the lubes, and then we had another bowl in the other room that had them too. So make it easy. We put out our toys and wash toys and charge them and everything like that, so people can use them if they want. Decide on a menu. So I think it's important to have food. I mean, someone said we had way too much food, because I think we didn't realize how much.
Well, a lot of people brought food. A lot of people brought stuff beyond what we imagined. So but I mean, it's a nice problem to have, right? Having too much food and not enough. Yeah, because if guests are hungry, it's a bit of a drag.
Yeah, because people after often I remember the first time we did it and we put out the food, nobody ate the food at the beginning, and I was like, what the heck? And then after the first sort of round of play, people came down and totally smashed the table. So
which is why I love having those fruit sticks that we make, right? We make these rainbow fruit sticks, and they're great because they have a lot of sugar, so it's like a quick boost of energy for second, third, and fifth rounds.
Yeah, so we call it sex party friendly food. So no onions or garlic, things that are easy, not messy. We usually do mostly vegetarian and vegan because everyone will eat that, but it's harder if you have lots of meat and that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's another big consideration, right? Because you might be eating meat, but what about your guests who don't? So it's harder for them to find something to eat. So it's good to have those options.
Yeah, we also get a selection of non-alcoholic beverages. So fizzy water is pretty popular. I had some non-alcoholic cocktail things. Nobody drank those. And having pitchers of water ready and that sort of thing.
Non-alcoholic beverages, that reminds me. So what about we're hosting, we're playing, and then some of our guests decide to leave, right? I mean, they're able to come and go as they want. Is it at all the responsibility of the host to make sure that people who are leaving are able to leave, that they're not under the influence?
It is, according to the laws. Yes, it is our responsibility. So, I think paying attention as a host, some of the responsibility is paying attention to how people are feeling and noticing if there's any strange vibes, but also things like if people are being responsible around driving and that sort of thing. And we had alcohol available, but honestly, people brought their own stuff and hardly anybody used our things. Right. But it's nice to have.
But you mentioned that other point too, and I think that is being a really good host. Is not only do we check to see if their drink has enough ice in it or whatever, but how are they feeling? Just kind of do a survey over the room and just see, is there anybody who looks like they might need a little check-in? And it's always good to find out, right? Because sometimes if you're not feeling it, if you're feeling a little anxious or a little bit removed, it might be hard to announce that position. Also, being at a party, you might not want to say, hey, I'm not really feeling it. But being able to have somebody just make eye contact with you and say, hey, how's it going? How are you? It might make it easier to say, well, I was feeling a little anxious, but I'm glad you checked in. And consideration, consent.
Yeah, so we do ask people to RSVP and confirm and verify any guests. Have a neutral zone where people can just hang out. So play is not everywhere in case people are feeling wanting to rest. And so in your place here, we have an upstairs and downstairs. So the downstairs is considered fairly neutral for the majority of the party. I think later on it gets a little different, but at least at the beginning you need to have that.
Yeah, and it's so important to have that neutral zone, right? Because if you are needing a little bit of space or a bit of time, and if you're being heavily pursued, maybe this is a good place to go to interrupt. Like, I've crossed this line, I'm in the neutral zone, and please, wait until I come back into the other area.
Yeah, like I needed a break at one point, and I came downstairs, and I just was like, okay, I'm done. And then I hung out with the people that were hanging out down here. So one of the things that we did successfully in a previous party, which I think worked really well, and we didn't do the same this party, is we created 3 different playlists for the different parts of the evening. So we set it up on Spotify, but it was really good because it kind of set the mood for the party. So we had a cocktail one for people when they arrive, meet and greet, kind of lighter, relax, easy. And then we sort of shifted at one point to more like dancey music to get people moving and that sort of thing. And then we had like a third one, a get down playlist. So we actually have those on Spotify. We could probably share them if people want them. So let us know.
So it helps set the mood, right? But also with that is the lighting too, right? We don't want to have our big neon lights on. We want to have some kind of something that's going to be in line with that. So
so the other thing we do in advance is we borrowed a mattress from a friend who has an extra one. We used to borrow massage tables, but we have our own now, so that was nice. It's a nice addition to have.
We have designated smoking areas and non-smoking areas, right? So you can't be smoking just everywhere and anywhere. That was easy for people to participate. And also we have no red wine because one of our first parties that we ever went to, they had a white carpet and somebody emptied the whole bottle of wine glass on the carpet and the couch and everything. And so it just was a big drag to have to try and clean that up. In addition to that also, while it might not look wonderful, we drink from plastic or paper cups because glass is a no-no when you are barefoot and naked, right? So imagine, you have 20, 30 people in your house and somebody breaks a wine glass and the music is playing and everything. And then somebody steps on glass, it would be a real downer. So no glass. Yeah,
so we have plastic glasses that you can wash and reuse. I think next time, because we said no red wine, what ended up happening, which was sort of fun, was lots of people brought like champagne and Prosecco. And so, it's kind of like you have this expensive champagne you're drinking out of a plastic glass. So I think next time we'll get like nice reusable plastic champagne glasses for that. So like live and learn, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a process.
We also have towels for showering and for other fluids. So we make sure we put those out.
So that's another thing to consider too, right? Maybe bringing your own robe. Maybe your guests have, but maybe they don't. But yeah, if you're costumed or then you're wearing lingerie or something, and then after, if you're taking a break, what would you want to wear?
In the neutral area.
It's good to have that.
Yeah, we actually put that in. Oh, this is all crooked. We put that in the do's and don'ts, like the suggestions. And I think you mentioned we have IKEA lights that you can adjust the temperature of the light and the color, which is fun. And we have like little fun, like disco-y lights. And so that always kind of sets the party mood.
We don't get paid by IKEA or Spotify, by the way. Not yet.
Google Google Home does it too. They all do.
Just say home lights.
Home lights.
Or any kind of.
Yes. So we talked about some of the guest do's. We talked about testing, having essential conversations with your partner if you're attending. So one of the tools that we've created and that we share in our Poly Newbies course and our Open Relationship and Polyamory Mastery course are having like a before, during, and aftercare plan, and then talk about any agreements or any boundaries that you might have for the party.
Or you might even go as far as talking about like when might we both want to leave? Maybe we feel like then, but maybe we have an agreement beforehand, right? Like, if I usually like to go to like 5 in the morning, and you're more of a midnight person, maybe we talk about that and find something that is mutually acceptable to both of us, right?
Yeah, and so make sure you share your personal boundaries with your partner that you're attending with, and then look for your outfit to suit the theme and get fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So day before and the day of the party. So there's a lot of things. I feel like a lot of things sort of ramp up. And weird hair today. And we did a message in the group chat reminding people of the time, location, and theme, and any special rules. For us, we want people to show up for the cocktail party. So we say it's a requirement unless
we're not like militant about it, but yeah, we prefer.
No,
Unless they
we
make
do
social
say
arrangements,
that you need to show up for the meet and greet because not everybody knows each other.
Right.
It's a way to get to know people.
Mm.
And if they're not able to, then they have to let us know in advance. And then we make a decision around if people already know those people, that sort of thing, then we can extend the rules.
Yeah, and we generally do it by consensus, right? We let people know, like, how do you feel? Would you be okay if these people were to arrive later for whatever reason? And and hopefully they feel comfortable saying, no, actually, I wouldn't want that if that's their preference, right?
Yeah. And the other piece of that is sort of practical, right? So for us, you have a buzzer and somebody has to call. So if somebody is calling and it's like already playtime, it's sort of, you know what I mean?
It's, you're not really listening for your phone.
You're not listening, so you may not get in. So that's the other practical
part. There's that too, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So making sure you have places for people to hang their coats and put their stuff. So
especially when you live in northern climates.
So we had to actually clear out the closet and put some stuff away in your storage locker and free up some hangers. Still, it got packed full. You get the ice, any supplies you need. You prep food, clean, and then start to prep all the play areas. Yeah. So one of the things we do for the play areas, which friends of ours who've hosted several parties told us is, at the end of the night when you're this is a great hack. You don't want to be stripping the bed and putting sheets on and that sort of thing. So what we do is we put sheets on the bed, like the bottom and the top sheet, and then we put a waterproof mattress cover on top of it and then another fitted sheet. So at the end of the night, you just take the top layers off, you get your duvet, hopefully in a handy place, and same thing with the pillows, and then you can just go to sleep. And so we did that for both of the main areas. So our friends also were able to go to sleep right away.
I can't say enough about those waterproof mattress covers.
They're super important.
Yeah, you don't want to be sleeping in puddles.
Yeah, and
unless you do.
I mean, we put towels out and they're in fairly good reach, but also people don't always grab them in time. So or expect that something's going to happen. Right. So yeah. And so for if you're a guest, make sure you pack your kit. So some people like to have a change of clothes. We have a small little pencil case that we bring to parties that has our own mouthwash and
power bars,
like a snack. Hungry, right? It's got condoms and our favorite lube, and sometimes we put small toys in here, and things that we feel like we want to make sure we have. And I noticed that other people brought some of their own condoms and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's great.
You shouldn't expect that, and wipes. I think the wipes in here too. You shouldn't expect that your host is going to have it, but it's nice when they do. So yeah.
Exactly.
And other things that you want to pack is sometimes a change of clothes. So if you have an elaborate costume or something, you know what I mean? You don't want to put it on at the end of the night. On
that shame of walking at your big costume, maybe not. Yeah, you might be more comfortable, right? You want something comfortable at the end of it when you're all played out and coming down. Yeah.
And the other thing I think you mentioned, but it's also great to have, is a robe or something to put on that's comfortable for in between play times. Because, you might warm up during the play, but then you might want to find and put all your clothes back on. So lots of people brought robes or something easy to slip on. So that's nice. Avoid garlic and onions because that stuff stays with you as the guest. And grooming.
Yeah, trim your fingernails, please, right? Because, sometimes they can scratch, also harbor a little bit of dirt. We're going to wash our hands thoroughly. But you could inadvertently scratch people, or if you do have longer nails, be cognizant of that, right? And personal hygiene, like shaving or waxing or hair
removing
removal.
Hair. Yeah.
So if we do it a day or two before, it can come back out like little razors, right? And
if you shave,
and that might not be so inviting unless you're really into pain.
Yeah. So we recommend, if you're gonna waxing is the best, something like that you do at least the day before, and then you're nice and smooth. If you do shave it, you'd have to do it on the same day, but it is hard to get close shave.
Or you could just leave it au naturel.
Or you could leave it au naturel.
Appreciate as well. Yeah. So.
Okay, so during the party and the party day, so obviously getting everything all set up, having us start early. I feel like every time I think, I have lots of time, and then we get to the end and it's like, oh my God, we're running out of time. So we had our friends show up 1 to 2 hours to do things. The other thing that worked really well this time was we had something ready to eat for dinner.
Nice, yes.
So, I put something in the crock pot, and when our friends came over, we had something, even though we were sort of eating, standing up and working, we had something really easy we could eat.
Yeah.
So you don't start the party hungry.
No, it was super easy because it would just be able to be eaten with a bowl and a spoon, right? It's not like a 4-course meal and the whole thing. And yeah, so that's good.
So welcome people as they arrive. So pay attention to your phone if it's a buzzer. We're lucky we have 2 buzzers, so someone can't get one of us, they can get the other.
But you got to be listening for it. Like I said,
for sure.
If you're busy, then.
And then if you can at some point or subtly throughout your conversations, reminding people about like the rules of, good sex party, like acceptance, then sex positivity.
No yucking somebody's yum, right? So just because you might not be into it doesn't mean that it's not wonderful for them. So I guess it's like pretty much the golden rule, right? If you have nothing good to say, then don't say it. If you don't necessarily like what they're doing, that's fine. You don't have to be a participant in it, but please refrain from making outward expressions of your dissatisfaction. No, not quite that, but just be aware that not everything will be for everybody, but we like a high level of inclusion and tolerance.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is where kind of when you plan the invite list that you might want to consider things like if you have a group of people that are bisexual and there might be, if you're inviting someone, ensuring that those people are comfortable with those situations. You can do that in advance. I mean, sometimes you don't know. And I think there was definitely people that were both heterosexual and bisexual, but comfortable with things happening in front of them. You know what I mean? And it makes it comfortable for everyone.
Sure.
Anyways, did we mention the ask once policy?
No, but let's talk about it. It's always worth.
So that has to do with consent.
Right.
So if you ask somebody to engage in play or some sort of activity and they say no, then you only ask them once. You only can so not approaching them again. So it has to do with consent.
Throughout the whole evening? So
throughout the whole evening.
There's a scene going on right now. I say, could I, or would you like, or would you mind if I, and then if it's like not answered with a yes, then that's it. So I'll wait for the person to approach me after and say, hey, that offer you made before, if you're still into it, then let's go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then talking about consent. And we have that right on our page about consent and not like things like not interrupting a scene when somebody or like, when one's in progress.
So how do you, there's a scene happening, you come upstairs and you want to integrate into that scene, you want to be part of it. How could you avail yourself to it? How could you let it be known that you might be interested in joining that scene?
You could see if you could catch the eye of somebody and look at them and you can melt something. But if they're really paying attention and doing what they're doing, I think it's best not to not to just jump in. You could sit nearby and observe and see if somebody catches your eye and then ask. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that happened to me. There was a scene happening and one of our friends, I sort of saw that he was sort of free-ish in the scene. And so like I sort of looked at him and I said like kind of like, may I? And he's like, yeah, and get the yes, like get the consent.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And why is it so important to get consent? Because it is creating this feeling of security, right? It makes us feel secure that we're not just subject to whatever is going to happen. We are able to say yes or no to that. And it makes me feel secure in being able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing about consent too is it's ongoing consent. It's not just you ask once, you've had sex with this person before and they've consented before, so you assume that it's going to be fine. Like it's asking again. And sometimes it may feel like you're asking multiple times. Like at some point you can kind of, if you're engaging with someone, oh, may I do this? May I do that? May I do that? But I feel like lots of people that, like the people that I engaged with would ask me, is this okay? Can I do this? I told someone I was having some pain and I said, I can't do this at this point. And they said, may I do this instead? Would this be comfortable? And I was like, yes, that would be great.
Awesome.
So yeah, ongoing consent. I think moderation in terms of drugs and alcohol.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sex. I hope no moderation sex. Yeah, drugs and alcohol. Yeah. So what is the tempo that's going on, right? What's the flavor of the party? Because some places, some parties we go to, they do want to do like some harder drugs and that's their own thing. But if you're the only one doing it, then maybe it's not quite that party.
Yeah.
So
we actually, sorry to interrupt, Linda. We actually say on our party page, no hard drugs. Like I really don't want that in my house. And I feel like it just changes the mood, and you don't know how to, I don't know.
But we do have friends who do host parties, and they do some harder drugs.
Yeah.
And we go there, but we go there knowing that it's going, right? So we can pick and choose where we're going to present ourselves in what part. And they're pretty good too, because they usually go off to the side to do it, right? They usually go in a bathroom or something. And it's because I don't think I would feel so comfortable if they were doing all that stuff right. It was like the main focus of it.
No, it doesn't become the main focus. Another thing is, because everyone's dressed up, it's really fun to take photos, and we, especially a group photo. And so you can ask consent to do that and take photos early in the evening while people are dressed, and make sure people are consenting to it.
Even when they're dressed, they might not necessarily want it for whatever reasons. Not everybody is fully out, and that's fine. But yeah, even dressed. So don't ever assume, right? Please ask beforehand, and if they're not wanting to be part of the group photo, then that's fine. They can step to the side and we take a group photo. But once the play starts happening, I'm a natural, so I don't really care, and I figure they have access to my Google Photos anyway. So whatever.
Your Google Photos,
the Big Brother thing, yeah, for sure they do. If you think that is hidden underneath your mattress, good luck. No. But anyway, there are other people who are not wanting that. So again, generally the rule that we go by is once the play part happens, phones are
away. Yeah.
But if you were wanting to take some picture like that, again, you must really make it clear who's consenting and who's not, and please respect that.
Yeah, and even I think the pictures that we take and people share it in the group, which I think is awesome, you shouldn't be sharing outside that group. Like that stays, like it's like Vegas. The pictures that get taken, even dressed pictures. Some people are not out to their family and friends, and you wouldn't want to out someone unnecessarily. So you can enjoy them for your own pleasure and like, oh my God, I love all these people. This was awesome, but not share it to
Yeah, take pictures in your mind. Yeah, cool.
We talked about having the meet and greet, clean as you go. I know you went upstairs during one part and cleaned up things.
Not once, like 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times. I went up
and kind of Zamboni picking up all the wrappers.
And I cleaned up. I kind of picked up the clothing and kind of laid it out under the table that we had upstairs, so people could do that. Refill food. Pay attention, be aware of if you see any non-consensual behavior. This is for the host, and you can check in with guests subtly.
I don't know if it made it to our list, but we also maybe should talk about kids and pets and grandparents. So maybe you don't want to have your kids, pets, or grandparents around, even if they are friendly and you love them. Your guests might not necessarily be as comfortable.
Oh, you mean if you have like a big house and the kids are like upstairs in a bedroom and you're down in the basement?
Well, perhaps like that too, or even just having Rover around, right? I love my dog. Everybody, I think everybody loves my dog, but maybe not everybody wants to see my dog during the party all the time.
Right. So, or maybe allergic.
Right. Even your parrot. I mean, who knows? So be mindful of that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, peanuts.
Peanuts. Yeah. Okay.
Food allergies, right? Do we have that on our list?
No, but we should add it. Yeah.
We should have that.
Yeah. I think we do ask in the chat if people have to let us know. Yeah, we do. It's on the page.
Awesome.
That's why it's good to have a page, because it's repeatable. So for the guests during...
should we have at the end of the page where you have to click that you've read it and then sign it? I didn't know I couldn't bring peanuts.
Yeah. So as the guest, be mindful of the time that you're going to arrive and that you may be leaving. BYOB. I mean, don't expect that your host, we love to have things for people, but, I think it's good to bring your own things. It was super nice also that people brought their own coolers and kept things cold, because we did have a bit of a fridge issue and people did bring. So next time, I think one of the things we're going to do next time is maybe have a larger cooler or with ice, so people can put, like, we have tons of bottles of champagne that don't fit into our wine fridge because they're too tall. Like, who designed that thing? Anyway. So so bring your, if you want to keep something cold, you might not want to expect that your host is going to have space. So bring your own cooler, sort of thing.
And also, you really love when people bring their own platters, right? If you're bringing food, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful gesture to bring food, but then you arrive at your guest place and you give them the food, and now they have no place to put it. So they basically cut the pizza box in half and they use that as a plate. It's workable, but it's not ideal. So for some people who are really detail-oriented, they might prefer that the food be well presented and plated. So if you can bring
Do you know anyone like
platters, no. If you can bring platters, that would be well received by some people.
Yes, I was very happy when one of our friends came in with like a full bag with platters, and the food was all prepared and cut.
Yeah, they got an A+. Huh?
This is my mom's hangover. Like, she used to get mad when people would show up at family barbecues with here's a watermelon, and hand it to her, and then she had to do something with it.
Oh, that's interesting. So not only did she have to plate it, she was then having to cut it up and everything, and it kind of takes.
So she just refuses. Now she says, "Oh, you do
carpet under the tree. Put your watermelon up your ass."
Yeah. Okay. And what's nice as a guest as well is to bring something for the hosts. So consider a host gift.
Host gift?
Yeah, if you're a guest at a party.
Do we usually bring host gifts?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad. What is a host gift?
Well, something like you can bring something to share. So something like for the bar. Which is nice, or a personal gift. And so that's always nice to bring. I know we've brought a bottle before that we said, this is for you for later. And someone did that for us. A friend brought a really nice piece of chocolate that they got at a special shop. It's just a nice thing, and because your hosts go to a lot of effort to plan and expenditure too, right? To plan and the host. And so it's nice to bring something.
Okay.
So we talked about the guests as well, personal hygiene, shower, cut your nails, all that stuff, no eating garlics, adhere to the rules, consent, practice safe sex, so use everything, and be aware of your own behavior and what you may be doing, during the party.
One of the things that I don't know that we put on that list, but that we spoke about earlier is what happens as far as timeline. So maybe I'm a night owl, maybe you like to go to bed early, and there's, play happening. How do we announce it? So maybe be aware that if you're the last guest and you're still going at it, and you look over your host is kind of looking sleepy-eyed, maybe then, you think, well, maybe it's time to wind down, and not have to make your host say it's time to wind down. Didn't happen to our party. I'm one of the night owls. I like to go to the very end. So it's not usually, but on the other side of that, well, then maybe you're kind of like, well, come on, Andre, it's 4:30. Let's think about heading out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think our guests were very aware of that.
They sure were. No, it was perfect.
Like I was sitting on the couch with somebody, and they were rubbing my feet, which was really nice. But and someone said, "Oh, Tara's looking tired," and I was like, "Oh no, I don't want people to feel like they have to go." But
they didn't have to look too far to see that I wasn't.
Exactly. So yeah. And I think as a guest, the thing to do is to manage your expectations. So even though it is a sex party, people may not want to have sex with you, so I think it's important to be open to experiences that might come up and meeting new people, but not come in with a thing like, I'm going to fuck every person that's here sort of thing, there may not be people that you want to be with, and people may not be, you may not be someone's jam, So yeah, don't assume people want to have sex with you is basically the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can still put it out there. You can make overtures and have flirtatious conversations that kind of take the temperature of that and find out who you'd like to.
Yeah, and I think don't wait if you are interested in someone, don't wait to approach someone, because someone else may snatch them up early on.
You're speaking from experience.
Well, I think it's good to kind of know what you want, and to, even, regardless of how you identify, I think if there's someone you're interested in, you could ask them during the meet and greet, like, hey, I'd like to play with you, or would you be interested in that?
Is that how you would say it?
I don't know, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to be with someone, I think it's important to announce that. Yeah. I mean, someone announced that to you.
Yeah. But I was looking towards somebody else, and then I kind of got invited the other way, I was flattered, but it was wonderful. But then what happened, I was able to connect with that other person that I was thinking I was going to connect with. But what happens with these parties, unfortunately, is that sometimes the clock runs out, and you're like, oh, wow, I wish we would have connected, whether it was sexually or through conversation, whatever it is. So it's like a balance, right? You want to be able to spend time dancing. You want to spend time in the cocktail meet and greet. You want to spend time playing. I guess you got to kind of plot it out to a certain extent without having too much of an expectation. But you want to say, well, I want to dance a bit. I want to eat a bit. I want to do this a bit, So be aware that, unfortunately, the night won't last forever, as fantastic as it is.
Yeah, and people do get occupied with other people. I know there was someone that I wanted to be with, but just timing and stuff, I ended up with someone first, and then I think they wanted to as well, but then I was busy, so then they were busy, and then when I was free, they were busy. You know what I mean? It just kind of happened. So I mean,
well, maybe it's the next party then.
there's the next party. Yeah. So another thing you should do is also be clean up after yourself. So don't expect your hosts are going to go up and clean up condoms and stuff like that. Like throw them in the garbage.
But at the same time, yeah, or maybe the condoms thrown in the garbage. A lot of guys didn't hit that mark. But at the same time, in all honesty, you are a guest, so you're not. Yeah. It's not your responsibility to be doing much cleanup, but a little bit of if you can.
Yeah,
it's always appreciated.
Yeah.
But have more fun. I'd rather somebody have more fun and not clean up.
Absolutely.
Than think that they have to be Hazel.
Yeah, but you can let your host know, like say there's a big squirting incident or something and someone needs to change a sheet, you should let them know that. Like if there's something you observe or something's out or supplies are out or that sort of thing. I think you talked about this already. Be mindful of your own hygiene. So like rinsing your mouth between partners, using wipes between partners on private areas, washing hands frequently. Those are really important.
Yeah.
And, like I said, that's why we have the wipes upstairs and downstairs, and a lot of them got used by the view of the garbage at the end. Yeah.
Right. Don't speak loudly in play areas, right? So be, again, mindful of what's going on around you, right? And it's even in regular conversation, people are speaking lowly, and then you come in, dominant, whatever. But especially in areas like this, because some people might find it distracting. We're wanting to go at it, and all of a sudden you want to talk about, U.S. politics or how AI is going to change the world, or any of those things. It might not be, it might not be the best area. So try and be mindful of that and temper your conversations to more neutral areas.
Yeah, like you may be done with what you're doing, but others may not. And if you do want to watch, just do it quietly. You know what I mean? And even in the neutral areas, I noticed that I could hear people downstairs talking, and I was like, wow, they're being really loud. So, yeah.
Yeah. To that point, because we were hosting, I was wondering about possible noise for our neighbors, right? Because we were still going pretty good at like 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And while we're having a good time, they might not necessarily be doing it. So depending on the size of the party also, you might want to consider letting your neighbors know that you will be having guests in a week or two. And maybe they will then say, well, that's wonderful. Or they may say, well, you know what, maybe that is the good weekend for us to go away, depending on the size of the party.
Yeah, you can even invite them to, if it is loud, to knock on the door or something. You know what I mean? Like,
but it shouldn't fall on them to have to do it. Because they might feel
but you should let them know.
Yeah, for sure.
And another thing is if you want to stay connected with someone, I mean, you have the group chat, but sometimes people aren't on the chat. So make sure you get their information at the party. Like, I think it's important not to assume that the hosts are going to connect you, and make sure that you stay connected. So that's important to do that while you're at the party. And I saw lots of people doing that. So
yeah, but should go kind of like with the other rules on social media, that you might somehow ask if you can contact them separately. Like, how does that work? Like, let's say you and I, you're partnered, I'm partnered, and I want to hook up with you or connect with you. How do I make that overture? Like, hey, Tara, you and I should get together sometime. Where would be a good
you could message in the group chat first and ask if they mind if you message them privately. You're not going to connect to their social accounts unless they've consented to that. So I think within the group chat you can ask for permission. You could probably message someone, but like everyone's information is there. But they can just be prepared that they may not want to stay connected that way. They may just want to meet up with you at the parties, you know, and because different people have different types of relationships.
That's
too,
true. Yeah,
right?
Some people don't network outside of their parties. Other people do it solo. Yeah, so find out.
I would say the majority of the people that were at our party are people that do not date separately.
Right.
Except for us. So, and then, check with your partner and implement your during part of your plan. So like the before, during, and after care. And just make sure you're checking in and making sure everything's okay. Cool. So then after the party, as a host, thank everyone for attending. Ask people to let you know if they witnessed any inappropriate behavior, because you want to know that for the next party. If there's anything that made people to message you privately, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And then as the host, it will fall on you to speak to that person or persons and let them know, right? Sometimes it's just people are just not aware of something that they might have done, right? I don't think they're necessarily intending to go out and do something that is disruptive,
I don't think so.
But if it should happen, then we want to, again, be able to talk about it in a very matter-of-fact way and just say, could we have done it differently this time?
And I think if that does come up, then as the host, you could talk to that person individually and say, hey, this was raised with us and, wanted to share it with you so you were aware.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't just like block them unless it was really, really inappropriate behavior.
Well, then, yeah, then that, if it's really inappropriate behavior right there in the party, you might have to take stronger action and say, look, this is not acceptable. And I'm sorry, depending on the instant, you might even have to ask them to leave at that moment.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Right. So, because the group welfare comes before the individual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the day after, with being the host, we have a whole other collection of lost and found.
Lost and found.
Yeah, all kinds of like surprising things that you might come across. So we add that to the page as well, and then people can claim their items.
Yeah. Yep. And you can share pictures you've taken. You can ask for feedback, what people liked, and what they would change, anything like that. If you're a guest, we received some really nice messages even before we woke up, thanking us. Share your pictures in the chat. This is an important one. Follow up with STI testing 2 weeks later. So give it some time. Like, don't go the next day because things aren't going to show up right away. Wait for 2 weeks and then do your test. And if you get any results, then let the people know in the group chat.
Yeah, and this is without any moral judgment, right? Because I mean, we wouldn't criticize somebody or think lowly of them if they had a cold or caught the flu. Well, it shouldn't be any different with these STI considerations as well. So if it does happen to you, it's unfortunate, but we simply announce it, and then everybody in that community can take the proper steps and then come back when everything is resolved.
Yeah. I mean, even let people know if you've got COVID or you've contracted something else.
Yeah.
I think it's important to do. I mean, we did that after we went away with some of our friends. And then like more than two or 3 weeks later, I found out I had bacterial vaginosis. So I let them know. And so then it gives people an opportunity to do something about it, right? So then that's the majority of things. I'll just look at what we might do differently next time.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things we talked about before we haven't implemented is doing some sort of quizzes like kink or BDSM or sexual orientation or preferences, and people could share their results.
Yeah, that's fun, right? Because I didn't know that you're also into, blue elephants, and I'm into blue elephants, and we could, do that together. Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, the thing we forgot, or we had one, but it didn't work, was having Sharpies for your cups.
Right.
Although if we did that, then we couldn't reuse them. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but it's funny because to put our names on the cups, it's I see it while you do it, and maybe it's important because I don't drink alcohol, for example. So if I go in and drink somebody else's drink inadvertently and it's alcohol, I wouldn't want that. But it seems funny because minutes later we'll be upstairs swapping fluids as well,
kissing and doing all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's good to have that. But you're right. Then afterwards, you might not be able to reuse that cup if you're into reducing, reusing, and recycling, unless when they come next party, here's your cup. We saved it, but it's got your name on it. You're like, wow, those people are really cheap.
It's environmental.
Well,
that's why we use them.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's all about the environment.
So we talked about having a large cooler of ice, having different kinds of cups, plastic cups. The one thing we could have maybe had was a larger recycling bin or something like that. Although we did fine. I mean, it wasn't that much of a thing. And having bags to make it easy to clean up after. And then the other thing, just inviting more people maybe. Like we did invite a lot of people, but we had some RSVP no's.
But we had a very high, that's what I was asking about before, we had a very high rate of confirmations.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, very few people said they weren't coming, but it was a very high rate. It was like more than 70%.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, different than a lot of parties that, birthday parties and stuff, you go and people are maybe more motivated.
Yeah, I think you should assume that 50% of people are going to show up. So when you come up with your list, you might have a main list and then have additional people that you can invite. That's why you want to plan early so that, the people that you're inviting later don't get last minute invitations. So, yeah. And then, I think the thing to be aware of, no matter how experienced you are, sometimes you might have feelings about it, and so be prepared that could happen, and then have a way to have a discussion with your partner about it afterwards or during, that sort of thing.
I wonder, should we have some kind of almost like safe word or check-in word that it's happening at the moment, and then I say Rapunzel, and that alerts you to the idea that, well, maybe we need to do a quick check-in or something?
Yeah, that's part of your during care. You might have a secret word or something that you do to alert your partner that you're maybe not, there's something that's you're not feeling comfortable with, or that sort of thing, or you're not comfortable with something that's happening and you need their support.
Green, yellow, red.
Yeah, because that could happen too. Because I think sometimes you get in these situations and maybe you're not liking something, but it's hard to announce it. So even though I think we should announce everything. So
yeah, ideally we should.
So that was a lot.
Yeah, but well worth it because it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I like hosting parties. So one of the things that we're hoping to do at some point soon is create an ultimate sex party guide. So if that's something that you would like, let us know in the comments of the broadcast if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, or just message us and let us know. And once we get it together, we'll make sure we send you the link to get it.
Let's get it together.
Yeah. So thanks for watching the Let's Talk Polyamory podcast. Another one in the books.
Yay.
Yay. Fun. Thanks for watching.